धीमहि यो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
कौशल्या सुत राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
कौशल्या सुत राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
कौशल्या सुत राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
कौशल्या सुत राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
लक्ष्मण सेवित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
लक्ष्मण सेवित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
लक्ष्मण सेवित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
लक्ष्मण सेवित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम।
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम
मारुति पूजित राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
जय सीताराम जय राम राम
दशरथ नंदन राम राम जय सीताराम जय राम राम
ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय श्री सियावर रामचंद्र की जय सीताराम 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 काहिये चाहे विदेरा के राम चाहे विदेराइए सीताराम 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 काहिये चाहे विदेरा के राम ताहे विदेराइए सीताराम सीताराम ओठ पे हो राम नाम राम काज हाथ में कैसे तो अकेला रे राम तेरे साथ में विधि का विधान मान हानि लाभ साइए चाहे विदेरा के राम ताहे विदेराइए सीताराम सीताराम किया अभिमान तेरा राम काज होएगा होगा अंत होई जो राम हुक्म होएगा फल की तो आशा त्याग कर्म करते रहिए चाहे विधि राखे राम ताहे विधि रहिए सीताराम सीताराम दीननाथ हाथ सो जिंदगी की गौर दे महालों में राखे चाहे झोपड़ी में छोड़ दे धन्यवाद निर्विवाद राम गुण गाइए चाहे विधि राखे राम ताहे विधि रहिए सीताराम सीताराम आशा एक राख हर की और आशा छोड़ दे नाता एक सच्चा हरि का और नाता तोड़ दे, रोम रोम अंग अंग राम रंग गाइए, चाहे विधि राखे राम, ताहे विधि रहिए। सीताराम 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 कहिए, चाहे विधि राखे राम, ताहे विधि रहिए। सीताराम सीताराम।
ॐ श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय। श्री सियावर रामचंद्र की जय।
ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव। Thou art my mother and thou art my father. Thou art my brother and thou art my friend. Thou art my knowledge and thou art my wealth. Thou art my all in all, O God of gods. Om Namo Narayanaya. The devotion of Bharata to Sri Ram. Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz had ruby slippers, which when tapped together took her home. Hermes or Mercury, the Roman Greek messenger of the gods, had winged slippers that allowed him to fly to his required destinations. Cinderella had glass slippers that proclaimed her as the love of the prince and thus the future princess, changing her life from rags to riches. All of these are fantastic stories, but they were a pair of wooden sandals that, although simple, ruled over a grand kingdom. On the throne of Ayodhya, following the death of King Dashratha, Sri Rama's wooden sandals were set upon the throne to remind the people of what the kingdom stood for, the ideals that were to be remembered, and as a reminder of the true ruler of the kingdom. In the Arthurian tales, the round table of Camelot represented the ideals of the kingdom. So too did the wooden sandals of Sri Rama rule Ayodhya. Goswami Tulsidas Ji describes the wooden sandals of Sri Ram as follows. The sandals of the all-merciful Lord were like two watchmen entrusted with the duty of guarding the people's life, or they may be compared to a pair of caskets to enshrine the jewel of Bharata's love, or to the two syllables constituting the word rama, intended for the spiritual practice of the human soul, or they may be likened to a pair of doors to guard the race of the Raghu, or a pair of hands to assist in the performance of good deeds, or again to a pair of eyes to show the noble path of service. So we have established that Sri Ram's sandals ruled over the kingdom, keeping it in trust until Sri Rama returned. But there must be more to the tale. A story is not a story without the plots, subplots, twists and turns, and of course the one question that perhaps everyone wants answered is why, oh why, was the kingdom left under the rule of a pair of sandals? Were there no kings, princes, or at least a distant cousin to rule the kingdom? Let us start at the beginning. Not at the beginning of the story of the Ramayana, but a different story, a story of a pair of sandals. Sandals that achieved acclaim and respect because it adorned the feet of Sri Ram. Once there was a great kingdom, Ayodhya. There ruled King Dashratha with his wives and 4 sons. All was well, and love pervaded the kingdom. Then the eldest and beloved son, Sri Ram, was exiled from the kingdom, and with him went his wife Sita and brother Lakshmana. The king dies out of sheer heartache at exiling his son. The second-born, Bharata, returns to discover the horrors that have occurred at the hands of his mother Kahiye, and more troubling is the fact that it was all done in his name, for his benefit. He just returned home and discovered that besides all the tragedies, he is to be king. Well, isn't that convenient? The king is dead, the rightful heir to the throne is exiled, and he had nothing to do with it. His hands were totally clean. The usual reaction would probably be one of utter joy and gratitude for one's good fortune. Bharata, however, was distraught and refused the throne. He chastised his mother for her actions and then set out to find Sri Rama. How does one explain the actions of Bharata? He was getting everything served on a platter, as to say. Power, wealth, and no opposition, yet he chose to deny these offerings. Today, if one was given a higher position in their profession, with the promise of ever-increasing paychecks and every luxury desired, it would be close to impossible to refuse such an offer. Bharata did not even think of the option. To him it was final that he shall accept nothing but the well-being and return of his brother Sri Rama. Would we be so quick to deny such pleasures for God? In the Sri Ramcharitmanasa, Mother Kausalya says, "By the grace of God and through your blessings, my sons and daughters-in-law are all pure as the water of the celestial stream, Ganga. Although I have never sworn by Rama, I now swear by him and tell you in good faith, my friend, that in extolling Bharata's amiability, goodness, modesty, loftiness of character, brotherly affection, devotion, faith, and nobility, the wit of even Sharda, the goddess of speech, falters. Can the ocean be ladled out by means of an oyster shell? I have always known Bharata to be the glory of his house, and the king has repeatedly told me so. Gold is tested by rubbing on a touchstone, and a precious stone on reaching the hands of an expert jeweler, while men are tested in times of emergency by their innate disposition. Bharata left Ayodhya to find Sri Rama. With him were the 3 queens and a whole retinue from the kingdom. Sri Rama, in the meantime, passed through the forest dressed in simple attire. Upon his feet he wore wooden sandals or kahahu. I can tell you that these are by no means comfortable. Trust me, I have worn wooden sandals of this particular ancient style. Sri Rama, Mother Sita, and Lakshmana nonetheless wore these sandals and travelled through the forest, and wherever Sri Ram went, he blessed those he passed, including the very land he tread. At first, when people saw Bharata in the forest, they suspected his motive was to kill Sri Rama once and for all. On meeting Bharata, however, they discovered the great love he carried for his brother, and all negative assumptions were dispelled. They thus assisted him in reaching Sri Rama. On finding Sri Rama, there was much joy shared amongst the brothers and the other members of both parties. Bharata offered several options to Sri Ram, including the return of Sri Rama and Mother Sita to the throne of Ayodhya. Bharata, however, realized that his request was selfish and that he sought his own happiness in the options given to Sri Ram. To see Sri Ram comfortable and upon the throne, or to be by Sri Ram's side, would have given Bharata immense joy. Bharata realized that all the suggestions were against the dharmic character of Sri Rama. Bharata thus installed Sri Rama's sandals on the throne, while he himself went into exile in wait of Sri Ram's return. And that, brothers and sisters, is why a pair of wooden sandals ruled over Ayodhya. There is a lesson, a truth revealed to us in this story if we were to follow the actions of Bharata. He prostrated at the feet of Sri Ram, removed the sandals of Sri Ram's feet, and set it upon the throne. We, every man and woman, must renounce the material pleasures of the world and prostrate at the feet of the Lord, knowing that there is only one power that rules supreme above all else, the power of Sri Ram. God is the absolute King of Kings, the ruler of all. What makes Bharata's story so unique? The Ramayana is full of stories of such brothers. This is true. Sugriva and Vali were brothers, but where Sri Ram and Bharata had a relationship based on love, Sugriva and Vali were enemies who fought over kingdom and pleasures until one killed the other. There were brothers like Jatayu and Sampati who loved each other, but who saw each other rarely. Then there are the brothers of Ravana, and the relationship they had was also one of love, but there was also a sense of duty and fear of Ravana's strength. Bharata's love for Sri Ram was pure. There was no fear that drove him to cower at Sri Ram's feet subserviently. There was clearly no animosity towards his brother, and so great was his love for Sri Rama that separation from his brother and seeing his brother having to rough it out was unbearable for him. One may argue that this is against the teaching of Hinduism, that which states that one should not be attached to other people, be it your parents, brother, sister, spouse, or children. A valid teaching, but let us acknowledge the fact that this was no ordinary love. This was the love for God, the love that we should all try to cultivate for the Lord. Sri Rama himself said in the Sri Ramcharitmanas, "The earth may abandon its natural forbearance, and Mount Meru may be blown away by a puff of wind discharged from the mouth of a mosquito. But Bharata will never be intoxicated by kingly power, O brother. Lakshmana, I swear on you as well as by our father that there is no brother so good and innocent as Bharata. God, dear brother, creates the world by mixing the milk of goodness with the water of evil, while Bharata is a swan, born in the lake of the solar race that has sifted the goodness from evil. Choosing the milk of goodness and discarding the water of evil, he has illumined the world by his glory." It is indeed difficult to describe the brotherly affection that the brothers of the Ramayana shared. The reason for this is that there is no modern example that is available for fair comparison. I thought about this point. How do I describe the relationship the brothers had? Unfortunately, we live in a world that has Hollywood pervaded and dictated. And in this world, there seems little place for the stories such as the Ramayana. The basics of the tale may be known, but the subtle messages that exist are like fossils, hidden from many. It occurred to me that a fairly recent, when compared to the Ramayana, piece of literature was released by J.R.R. Tolkien, and one of the central characters and themes of the story offers glimpses into the kind of relationship that Sri Rama and his brothers had. In the story too, there is an inanimate object that possesses immense power. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all and in the darkness bind them. But while the ring of Sauron brought about greed, jealousy, hatred, and destruction, the wooden sandals of Sri Ram brought hope, faith, love, and peace. I am not naive enough to believe that everyone has read The Lord of the Rings, but I am positive that a large majority of us have watched Peter Jackson's screen adaptation by the same name. In the story, we are introduced to 4 friends: Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Merry. All these characters have their own role in the great story. If we were to reflect on the relationship that occurred between Frodo and Sam, it was very much like that of Sri Rama and Bharata, a relationship of mutual love and respect. There are other parallels between our great epic, the Ramayana, and Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, but that is another story all on its own. The purpose behind introducing this parallel is so that those familiar with the story of Frodo and Sam can bring it to memory. Now multiply that 100-fold, and you have a glimpse of the love that Bharata held for Sri Ram. What makes Bharata such a great character? He was not a king, he was not a renowned fierce warrior, he was not a great seer or sage. Considering this, why is he so highly recognized and remembered from the multitude of characters within the Ramayana? The answer is that he was able to be any of the above. He was as pure as Sri Ram himself, and in many ways was a mirror of Sri Rama. Yet in his life, his only purpose and aim was to serve his brother, his master and his king, Sri Rama. This is why Bharata is such a bright light in the archives of Hindu history and literature. Despite all the material benefits and all the name and fame that he could have acquired, his mind had one purpose: serving his beloved Sri Ram. Swami Vivekananda said, "Wealth goes, beauty vanishes, life flies, powers fly, but the Lord abideth forever, love abideth forever. Stick to God. Who cares what comes, in the body or anywhere? Through the terrors of evil say, my God, my love. Through the pangs of death say, my God, my love. Do not go for glass beads, leaving the mine of diamonds. This life is a great chance. What? Seekest thou the pleasures of this world? He is the fountain of all bliss. Seek the highest, aim for the highest, and you shall reach the highest. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Spriha Raghupate Nidaye Asmadiye Satyam Vadami Cha Bhavan Akhilantaratma Bhaktim Prayacha Raghupungava Nidharame Kamadidosharahitam Gurumanasam Cha Om Shri Sītā Lakshmana Bharat Shatrughna Hanumat Sameta Shri Ramachandra Parabrahmane Namaha Sītā harana tāta jani kahahu pitā sanjai जो मेरा मत kula sahita kahihi dasanana आई श्री श्यावर रामचंद्र की जय श्री राम जय जय राम 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 गीधा देहा ताji हरि हरि रूपा भूषण बहुपट पीता अनूपा श्याम गात विशाल भुजचारी स्तुति करत नयन भरि भारी श्री राम जय जय राम 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 जय राम रूप अनूप निर्गुण सगुण गुण प्रेरक सही दस शीस बाहु प्रचंड खंडन चंड सरमंडन मही पाठोदगात सरोज मुख राजीव आयत लोचनम नितनौमि राम कृपाल बाहु विशाल भव भय मोचनम बलम अप्रमेयम अनादिम व्यक्तमेकम गोचरम गोविंद गोपर द्वंद्वहर विज्ञान घन धरणीधरम जे राम मंत्र जपंत संत अनंत जनमन रंजनम नितनौमि राम अकाम प्रिय कामादिखलदल गंजनम जेहि श्रुति निरंजन ब्रह्म नीरज अज कहि गावहि, करि ध्यान ज्ञान विराग लोचन, अनेक मुनि जेहि पावहि, सो प्रगट करुणा कंद शोभा, वृंद अगज गमोहहि, मम हृदय पंकज भृंग अंग, अनंग बहु छवि सोहहि, जो अगम सुगम सुभाग निर्मल, असम सम शीतल सदा, पश्यन्ति जम करि करत मन गो, बस सदा सो राम रमा निवास, संतत दास बस त्रिभुवन धनि, मम उर बसौ सो समन संस्कृति, जासु कीरति पावनी।
अविरल भगति मागी बर, गीध गयो हरि धाम, तेहि की क्रिया जथोचित, निज कर कीन्ही राम।
श्री सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। कोमल चित अति दीन दयाला, कारण बिनु रघुनाथ कृपाला। दीर्घ अधम खग आमिष भोगी, गति दीनी जो जाचत जोगी। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। सुनहु उमा के लोग अभागी, हरि तजी होहि विषय अनुरागी। पुनि सीतहि खोजत दो भाई, चले बिलोकत बन बहुताई। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। संकुल लता बिटप घन कानन, बहु खग मृगत गज पंचानन। आवत पंथ कबंध निपाता, तेहि सब कही साप के बाता। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। दुर्वासा मोहि दीन्हि सापा, प्रभु पद पेखि मिटा सो पापा। सुनु गंधर्व कहु मैं तोहि, मोहि न सोहाई ब्रह्म कुल द्रोही। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। दीन दयाल दीन दयाल दीन दयाल हरि दीन दयाल। मन क्रम बचन कपट तजी, जो करहु सुर सेवा। मोहि समेत बिरंचि सिवा, बसता के सब देव। श्री सियावर राम अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय।
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे भक्त जनों के संगत भक्त जनों के संगत क्षण में दूर करे। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे जो ध्यावे फल पावे दुख विनशे मन का स्वामी दुख विनशे मन का सुख संपत्ति घर आवे सुख संपत्ति घर आवे कष्ट मिटे तन का। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मात पिता तुम मेरे शरण गहूँ किसकी स्वामी शरण गहूँ किसकी तुम बिना और न दूजा तुम बिना और न दूजा आस करो जिसकी। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा तुम अनंतरयामी स्वामी तुम अनंतरयामी पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर तुम सबके स्वामी। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे तुम करुणा के सागर तुम पालन करता स्वामी तुम पालन करता मैं सेवक तुम स्वामी मैं सेवक तुम स्वामी कृपा करो भरता। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे तुम हो एक अगोचर सबके प्राणपति स्वामी सबके प्राणपति इस विधि मिलो दया में इस विधि मिलो दया में तुमको मैं कुमति। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे दीन बंधु दुख हरता तुम रक्षक मेरे स्वामी तुम रक्षक मेरे करुणा हस्त बढ़ाओ करुणा हस्त बढ़ाओ शरण पड़ा तेरे। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे विषय विकार मिटाओ पाप हरो देवा स्वामी पाप हरो देवा श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ संतन की सेवा। ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे भक्त जनों के संकट भक्त जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे। ॐ जय
कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवन् भवानी सहितं नमामि भवन् भवानी सहितं नमामि मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्ष मङ्गलाय तनोहरि सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते नारायणी नमोस्तुते। ॐ श्रीराम कृष्ण भगवान की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय श्री सियावर रामचंद्र की जय।
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. Satsang always uplifts our mind, and for a while we forget the world and its cares. It is a blessing to be able to listen to devotional songs and the chanting of the Ramayana. The melodious chanting helps us to increase our devotion to God. Although it is an ancient scripture, the values taught here are eternal, and when we practice them, we are filled with immense peace. We learn the value of selflessness, patience, and kindness. May Sri Ram always abide in our hearts and protect us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय। महामाई की जय। स्वामी जी महाराज की जय। गंगा मात की जय। महावीर स्वामी जी की जय। सर्व ऋषि मुनियों की जय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। श्री सियावर